INEC knows what they should do. If they are the regulator, if they are the one in charge of the party, I tell you today that INEC is now a toothless bulldog. INEC is now, working for the interest of people in government. If INEC today says that parties have no national leadership, it's an aberration. It's an absurdity. It's something that should not even come from the mouth of those who are leading the commission. INEC has a solution to every of these problems, and if they are not doing it, that means they are deliberately making sure that these parties are in chaos.
This is Volume with FemiDlive. I'm glad you joined the show. Another wonderful interview is about to start off, and you're just in time for it. We're looking forward to your comments and your thoughts on a lot of these subjects, and especially the volume you bring to the conversation matters all the time. I'm Femi D. Ameh. My guest today is High Chief Peter Ameh. He's the former IPAC Chairman, that's the Inter-Party Advisory Council, and yes, he's the current secretary for the Coalition of United Political Parties. He's a prominent politician. He has guided politicians. He speaks around politics and, of course, has never hesitated to speak truth to power as he perceives it on subjects around democracy. Even today, he will be providing perspective as regards the political landscape as we have it. The 2027 election is forthcoming, and yes, there's a lot of movement from coalitions to performance of current administrations and much more. His views are relenting on what democracy means to the people, and he's here today. Welcome to Volume.
Thank you for having me, my friend. Longest time.
Yes, it's good to see you, sir.
My pleasure.
There's a lot of ground to cover, as we have it. In my head, I'm trying to draw the architecture of how this conversation would flow. But when I do think about it as well, I start off by saying you have done well in mingling with quite a number of political parties and working with them in that coalition. However, one of the hardest things I know is getting people with interests with different political parties try to see the vision as it in fact affects Nigeria. What are your thoughts on working with political parties to centralize them towards a kind of vision that would be good for the people?
For the opposition, because at this time, you must be very narrow specific, that with this opposition, you must put the opposition together in order to have that necessary strength, to determine the outcome of 2027 election. And it's been challenging because people are very selfish, people are very, self-interested in themselves, and they're not really committed to a collective good of the people. And that's why a lot of politicians were taught lessons in 2023 election, because politicians have thought that the old style of voting, old system of trying to coerce people, try to manipulate people's interest to go canvass whether for candidates that are none of their choice, they say on the basis of religion and ethnicity, actually failed in 2027. And you look at that, those issues you call structure. Those, there's this vague word that we used for years before 2023 election, structure. You don't have structure. You don't have that. Old politicians have done that, to hold on to power. But in 2023, we discovered that not having structure is really a vague word. It doesn't something that what matters is the PVC, the ability of individuals to go to the polling unit and determine what they want for the country, what their vision for the country, and which candidate best represent that vision. And so, in coming to the point of bringing political parties together, it's interesting that political parties are actually seeing a better opportunity to also do better by participating in a way that, because political parties are the critical stakeholders in democracy, especially in a country where you have no independent candidacy. They are the number one stakeholder. Anything you call civil society are just supporting tissue that come to discuss issues of social activism. But when it comes to political party, they conduct primaries, they present candidates, and they are the one that is on the ballot for the election, as stated in Ameh and Ame's case at the Supreme Court. So yes, it's clear that our democracy can only survive if we have strong and varied political party that are in opposition, because opposition play a very critical role when it comes to trying to stabilize the essence of governance within democratic governance. Democratic system, because the role of opposition not just to attack, it's not just to stand as somebody who wants the doom for those in power. No, the role of opposition, apart from criticizing, standing as critic for the policies of government that are not, impacting on the life of the people, it also entails that you need to proffer solutions on better things to be done. But we have people with ego in power, especially in Africa and Nigeria, the ego that seems as if, we have taken power. The power is our own. You're outside talking. Why should we listen to you? But we're all talking not because of ourselves. It's because of the interest of the people. It's because of that. The more your policies undermine the benefit of good living for the people, it affects all of us. We're all living in this ecosystem, this territory called Nigeria. So you need to be able to understand that it's key and critical that opposition thrive in a democracy, because without that, we will not have a very solid platform for which democracy can survive.
And I do know, for example, the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, is with the APC. He has described the opposition in Nigeria at this time possibly as jokers. And he had good reason to think so. When you look at the PDP in 2023 elections, the soul of the party was under a struggle one way or the other. It was about the candidate and the party. Who is bigger? Whose vision would emerge? And then there was Labour Party, the candidate bigger than the party, if I would say so. And there were other parties that the candidates were superstars, but the parties were small. And there were parties that they were historically known, SDP and the likes of that, but not so much so known. That mismatch sometimes, I would say, made the opposition really fragmented and still fragmented till date.
It's the beauty of democracy. The beauty of democracy is building. And people, if you look at Section 40 of the Constitution, it says people who have the interest to belong to a political party that protect their interest and their right. That's what the Constitution says. And it's clear. It's not just personal interest. It must be a collective agenda to be able to do well, for our people. And for the APC, I've never seen the APC as a machine, put together for the benefit of people. I've seen it as a machine just to win election in whatever means possible. Whether it is done by through the snatch it, grab it, and running their mantra, or by outright rigging. Because I've never seen them win an election. In 2015, I can give you statistics that what made the elections, why you cannot say this election really is a true test of democracy. I can give you the statistics, but I don't want to go into that and waste people's time. The fact is that the president knows that the non-interference by government using state apparatus to undermine the interest of opposition system, if it was used against the APC would not be here today. Because if you look at what is happening today, there's so much militarization and oppressive tendencies of this government to undermine the opposition. Because you can't see today that ADC is holding meeting in Kaduna, the police was standing aloof when they were being attacked, when people were injured and somebody eventually died, I think so. And then you have a situation where the police is now writing and inviting the state chairman of the ADC and other members of the party. In Lagos today, Rose Weaver is trying to organize a meeting to attend at a particular venue. The police are sealed off the place. So you can't have a democracy in an authoritarian, stylish side of the APC, of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu government today. And you think that
But they will tell you it's about keeping peace and order.
No, it's not about keeping peace. There's the issue of peace. When you want to keep peace, there's the extent the police will go. I've been in party management for a long time. I've never seen the level of police participation in party politics that it is today. I've never seen it. And I've never seen that a president could sit in the national office and say that he's happy to see the position in disarray. And these are things you see from his body language and from his action and from those who have decided to declare support for him. And look, I tell you today that INEC is now a toothless bulldog. INEC is now, working for the interest of people in government. I tell you the fact, I've been in advocacy for 20 years. I'm former two-time secretary of the Interparty Advisory Council, two-time national chairman. And we worked in line and work in consultation with INEC to try to see how much we can make sure that our elections and our electoral processes is as clean as possible to represent our own collective understanding that what democracy should be. But today you find out that parties are having crisis. And INEC is not just INEC does not only give you responsibility to undertake, organize, and conduct election. It also gives you responsibility to register and regulate internal affairs of political parties. And if INEC today says that parties have no national leadership, is an aberration, is an absurdity. It's something that should not even come from the mouth of those who are leading the commission, because INEC knows what they should do. If they are the regulator, if they are the one in charge of the party, and you say, oh, for instance, this one's tenure is over, then what do you do? They should have no vacuum. So you know they are elected people. INEC has a solution to every of these problems. These are people I've worked with before, and if they are not doing it, that means they are deliberately making sure that these parties are in chaos.
Let me push you on leadership position. Labour Party, for example, there is the leadership tussle between who is who and who leads the party. It's similar with the ADC, who have a case in courts, because I do know of Kachuku's case versus the former leaders and the leaders there and the new leaders and the emerging leaders and everybody who was trying to come in. How would INEC have resolved that?
And it's a joke. Kashuku was a presidential candidate. He's not the national chairman of the party.
However,
so
he's in court.
It's the truth. It's in court, but that does not mean that the will of how to manage the political party must come to a halt. The party must continue to function. The party is an entity on its own, described by the Constitution with perpetual succession. The party is an entity that represents that even if 1 million of the party members resign today, the party continue to exist. So you can't have a political party with right to perpetual succession, being denied the opportunity to have a governing council that will, manage the affairs of the party. You are president candidate. Yes, you are not happy. You have been disappointed maybe by one person in the party. That doesn't mean that the party must come to a halt. So INEC knows what to do. I am telling you this because I know what to do. So if I know what to do, then it's better that INEC know what to do better.
Labour Party is another example of the top of my head.
I try to want to avoid all the discussion because I know at the end of the day, INEC is avoiding something. INEC is refusing because there's no solution.
But they have a good reason to avoid it.
To avoid what? Is the responsibility bestowed upon them by the Constitution. They must be able to carry out those functions. If you can't carry out those functions, then you resign.
Should they have picked a leader, or should I say
they don't have to pick a leader?
Then what should they have done?
What they know is to look at the Constitution of the party, because if there's a Supreme Court judgment, and INEC cannot honor that partially and say, Abure is no longer chairman. That's what INEC has said. INEC has said that by their own admission in court. Yeah, okay, if you have said Abure is no longer chairman, are you not going to say you have no solution of how to build a new national executive, a state executive, local government executive, and ward executive? No, there's a solution. There are people who have been elected on the platform of the party. They are members, they are statutory members to the National Convention. They are statutory delegates to the National Convention. So why won't you allow them to take decision? Because if you said you want to be able to solve the problem, there's no way those who are left behind in the party becomes the quorum of the party. Because if one does not exist, let's say we are 100 people who are members to the National Convention, and 50 of us have been, denied the opportunity to be delegate and say, no, you are no longer in control. The remaining 50, what do you want them to do? You can take their signatures and ask them for a consensus. If they agree on a consensus, then you give a leadership to the party.
But most political parties have a quota in which the representation or decision needs to be made before it can actively be accepted, even by INEC.
I know the constitution of Labour Party back and front, but I'm telling you, the INEC knows what to do. INEC is deliberately adding insult to injury in these parties.
What's your
for the benefit of the APC?
What's your recommendation to them?
My recommendation is that we need to, first of all, make a recommendation and follow in line with Justice Iwe Electoral Panel 2008 that said INEC needs to be unbundled. And the appointing authority, that is the president, must need to be redefined. That because those who pays the piper, plays the piper, takes the tune. Mm-hmm. So we need to be able to re-engineer the process, make sure that we have an INEC that is truly independent of interference from those in government and those who runs apparatus of state. We need to have that in place, because if we have that in place, we will have a truly independent commission that will be a regulator and a register of political party without any fear or favor. Because you talk to some people, say, oh, this is from above. We're in court. Let me tell you something. We're in court for a candidate Christian or Sareme or Mofama, who was running under the party on the instruction of Senator Nana de Usman. We're in court. In an open court, Chief Ameh, saw a judge saying that his hands are tied and that he has received several calls that he should not proceed with this case. What democracy are we running? I've seen this. I heard this. So what are you saying, that a judge is not telling you that his hands are tied because he has looked at the laws and he has looked at the provisions of the Constitution, and that this thing is in contradicting what has been brought before him.
But that could also be an assumption that somebody who tied his hands is somebody who is familiar with that.
He said he has received several calls.
From who?
From highly placed.
It could be any direction.
I
could be anywhere.
want to know those highly placed. A judge is supposed to represent the very best of our national, leadership. A judge is supposed to be so independent that he's supposed to be able to save any situation that is in dispute without referring it to friends or to well-wishers who might not be willing to give a direct position that will favor the right decision. So a judge is supposed to look at the Constitution, look at relevant laws and regulations, and then arrive at the decision based on that. So we cannot continue in a democracy. We call it a democracy where we don't have this opportunity for people who are at the highest level of our judiciary to not have freedom to take decisions.
Talking about freedom and intervention, President Tinubu earlier this year had to intervene in a situation building up to possible violence in Rivers State, where Governor Fubara, yes, he was leading, and he was at an impasse with the former governor of the state, Wike. That impasse literally was leading to chaos, democratic chaos at the level of the politicians, state assembly, and the likes of that. And he had to bring on somebody to just hold the process. And that process now seems to be rounding off with apologies being shared accordingly. Your perspective is that shouldn't have happened, if I'm accurate?
President Tinubu has no such power anywhere in the Constitution. He has applied authoritarian laws or interest to overturn a constitutionally constituted leadership of Rivers State.
How?
He removed a man who was elected by the people, an executive governor. He suspended them, suspended a legislative council, a state assembly council that's supposed to be making laws for good governance and development of the state, arbitrarily.
But you define state emergency.
Let me tell you, the section 305, this is not something I'm telling you. I didn't even expect this question, but I have the constitutional provision in my head. Section 305 make provision for state of emergency. It never made provision for a suspension of elected executive. This state of emergency means, yes, there's need to concentrate more effort in this area and bring many more security to be able to look at what was the state of emergency. These are orchestrated decisions by those who were looking for help from the president, those who have been beaten to their game, those who were frustrated, who did not know how to go about defending the governor, and they ran to the president because the president too is more interested in winning 2027. And in looking at what they have described to him, he felt, can we just suspend the governor? Can we suspend the state house of assembly? Did you see the state of assembly cried one day? They never cried because it was to their best interest that the governor was removed. They were never worried. It has never happened in anywhere in democracy that the state assembly started after that and was playing national anthem for the president and was singing hallelujah chorus for the president and say, yes, the president did the right thing. These are people who were denied their constitutional right.
And these are people who are in the PDP, by the way. So,
yes, they are in the PDP, claim to be PDP. Prior before that, they are defected. We saw the video. We are Nigerians. We saw that they defected. They can deceive the whole world, but they can't deceive us. These are people who have desecrated the temple of democratic system in this country. They have betrayed the trust of the people. The people might not talk, but in 2027, the result will show. Just like, look, we need to be speaking the truth. Section 308 of the Constitution gives the governor immunity. The governor has immunity from prosecution or oversuing people. So you cannot have treated him the way they have treated him. I'm not speaking for the governor because I love him. I'm not speaking for him because I know him.
But he followed the procedure. The president followed the procedure.
What procedure? Where?
Which had the National Assembly involved.
The National Assembly has become one of the toothless, how they call it, arm of government in the history of our country. This current 10th National Assembly. Because what procedure? Even if the president was to do it, the president is supposed to have written the National Assembly before even calling for the state of emergency. But the president has called for the state of emergency and wrote to them to endorse what he has done. You are telling me that the president can even say one day our National Assembly does not exist. So we are creating a system that might undermine the entire democratic government that we have built. This republic must be sustained. This republic must survive. And it must survive on the rule of law. Any governance without the rule of law, we are playing Lido. So we need to be able to get it right that the president is only working for his own interest and his own re-election. Today, we have a sole administrator that is running a democratic state with a quasi-judicial authority that is now doing whatever possible, has conducted a local government election. So you are telling me that they still
He didn't conduct it. The River States,
he appointed the River State Independent Electoral Commission. It is an indication that this was he appointed them.
It's within his purview because
He has no full right to be there in the first place. There's no law that we're just because the citizens are weak. The citizens are docile. They have resigned to fate. They are frustrated. They say, "Oh, now their government made that they run now," but they don't know that every generation must be able to give a cost to his own generation. Because let me tell you, before now, there were our parents who said, "Oh, we don't want to do this because we are going to die." They suffered the consequences of not going to do that. But you cannot now have a new generation who constitutes over 60% of the voting population. Is youth based, and the youth are just there saying they are watching Premier League. There's more to survival of this country than our own comfort. There's more to survive. Everybody, we could have the opportunity to be government. We have many friends. You think we're in opposition because we just wanted to be talking? We're in opposition because we felt that if all of us are on one side, these people will take this country for a ride, and which they are already doing. And there are less voice speaking against them because people feel, oh, it's their turn. This is not turn by turn Nigeria Limited. This is, in fact, a system that we must put in place, that governance is our responsibility. But while you are inside government or outside government, you are government in waiting. So you must put a check to this authoritarian attitude and, winner suppressive mentality that is bedeviling our democracy.
And that even happened at the local government elections that were just conducted recently. For the ones conducted, it looks like whoever was the ruling party of the governor, the party of the governor, seems to have clinched a good number of the local government election chairmanship position within those states. And it says a lot about our electoral process, even ahead of 2027 elections.
Okay, you don't know that we don't have local government election in Nigeria. Should I tell you?
What do we have?
We don't.
We don't?
We don't. What we have is a situation where the governor appoints State Independent Electoral Commission. And we have 37. When you have people ask people in an exam, for instance, and say, how many election management body do we have? They will say we have INEC. Most Nigerians don't know.
No, it's 37.
They will say, no, they say it's 37. No, it's 36. We have 36. We are plus the national headquarters.
The body.
Yes, 37. Body. So we don't just have one. And each one of them, apart from INEC, that is based on national, conducting national assemblies election, presidential election, state house of assembly election, the remaining 36 are responsible to conduct local government election, which is called State Independent Electoral Commission. And you can find them in section 7, subsection 1. Their responsibility is clear there. They are supposed to manage, organize, and conduct local government election, just like the same function that INEC has. The INEC they're not subsidiary to INEC. They're not babies to INEC. They have the same power, equal power that INEC has. It's the same power that the CX have. And the only problem we have is that we have a state assembly that is supposed to be a check against the power-drunk governors. But the state assembly has also been subdued and captured by the governors. So anytime the governor wants members to be appointed for the CX, is 100% approval from the state assembly. Whatever kind of manipulation they want is 100% approval for it. So that had weakened the body that is supposed to act as a supervisory role between the governor and the sex. So for that reason, as sex are now, you bring babysitters who come to CX, who act as chairman and board of those baby CX, and they conduct election. They don't bring ballot papers. They don't bring agent anywhere. They just, before you are leaving, the polling unit result are announced. It's the greatest electoral fraud foisted on our democracy.
Talking about how one conveys the results of elections and even conveys the results of some of the democratic dividends. A few days ago, the president was speaking about the fact that the non-oil sector has grown, there's good numbers, and yes, it's about to get to the common man. Some of the benefits in which he has been able to raise revenue generation, things are stable, the currency is stable, and the likes of that. But I do see that some of your views about that is that those numbers are not properly documented, or their numbers augmented they are made out of realities that don't exist.
They are realities that don't exist. They are just the president is living in a bubble. He's living in an isolated island, in an alternative universe created by those who are around him.
Why do people keep saying that?
Let me explain to you. When the president got into office, a bag of rice was 27,000. A bag of beans was less. So a bag of rice now rose to almost 120,000 under his administration. Today it's back to about 50-something thousand. And the president is telling you that the price of rice is dropping, bag of rice. The price of beans is dropping, but it's not telling you the truth. The president is killing local farmers.
But yeah,
let me tell you, he's killing local farmers that he has now gone into an alliance that by opening up our borders for rice to be imported from Thailand and other countries. That importation has killed local farmers. Local farmers can no longer produce. They can't meet up with the cheap rice that is being brought from other countries, and these farmers are in debt. So it is importation that have brought down the rest of this, and it's killing local farmers. It's killing our local economy. And you want to then talk of the president, talking about we have met 20 or something, is it billion or so from non-oil export.
It should be 20 trillion or thereabout.
20 trillion from non-oil export.
20.5 trillion naira, January to August, as comparing it to last year.
Don't forget, we are owing local contractors. They're just trying to pay them. Don't forget that. Pensioners are worried. The police don't get paid well. Don't forget all this. Don't forget how much we are owing. But that is not the challenge. The challenge is the fact that this money generated, as long as it's not telling positively on the life of the people on the street, there's no generation. Because the generation is used to be able to sustain the luxury lifestyle of those who are in government. The president, for instance, when he got into office, money generation had never been a Nigerian problem. We have oil windfall, Gulf War, all this. Nigeria have always had money. There were times go and say people, we can borrow the world money. We have enough. We don't even know what to do with it. Go and look at our president. We have always generated enough resources, but our problem is prioritizing our spending. Our problem is how to, allocate these resources and align them that it will protect the interest of the people. Today, the president's weakness is that he's using money to buy luxurious items like buying private jet when we have enough. We could have just refurbish what we have. $150 million. He bought a car for himself. He's buying a yacht and all that for himself. And the president travels. He has traveled over about how many percent of his entire days in power has been committed to foreign travel. He's not even in the country as I speak.
Yes,
and every
France.
And every place he parks that private jet. Any day he parks that presidential jet. Let me tell you, every night it will cost about $50,000.
But he's there to make money.
Which money? Have you seen the FDI? What is the FDI? That's why he's resorting to tell you that our non-export is doing well.
But the currency is stable. The exchange rate was all over the place.
You know what the exchange rate was when the president came in? It was about 400 something, I'll be 500 naira. The president took it up because of his irrational, impromptu, and irresponsible removal of first subsidy without policy, without plans. He's the one that caused us this problem. He's the one that put us in this mess. He can't be getting praise for putting us in the mess, and he has not been able to drop it to where he met it. The exchange rate as of today is about 1,520 naira. So what is he saying?
But some would also tell you the exchange rate drama started off at the end of late Muhammadu Buhari's administration.
Buhari was a failure. Tinubu is a disaster. I'm telling you. But Tinubu, if he was an accountant as he claimed, if he was a trained accountant, there was no way anybody would just come on the first day of office without properly planning a process and removing fuel subsidy. The cost of living jumped. The cost of transportation alone, on that day, go and check the filling station, jumped by 300%. We are staff who were earning 100,000, 120, they could no longer survive. Because you look at do you know the cost of transportation determines the standard of living of the people? It will affect the cost of services. It will affect the cost of what how they call it, goods and services. Mm-hmm. So it affects everything. And everybody continue to transfer that cost to another person who is their client. So everything you do, you must get your transport system right. You must get your infrastructural system right. This issue of investing trillions of naira in projects that will not have, impact on the current state of our people is a mismatch.
Which project doesn't have impact as we have it now? I know there are people talking about the roads that have been launched. And by the way, it's almost it's past the midterm of his first administration.
And he has destroyed the country. Just 2 years.
He's also showing signs of what he has done.
The remaining 2 years, what we are going to go through.
Why shouldn't he get the remaining next tenure, which will probably be 2027? By the way, I'm coming to Peter Obi shortly and his 1 year time plan. But let me allow you explain that part.
I'm very sure Tinubu does not want to. He just wanted to be president. I didn't think he have a plan. I'm very sure of that. There's no plan. The man is always traveling. He's always in France. He's always everywhere. Which country? Go and check America.
But people do travel.
Their president go to Camp David to have vacation within America. We have Obudu Cattle Ranch. We have Yankari Game Reserve. We have Okosi in Ekiti, what they have in Ekiti right now. We have the one they have in Ogun State. Our president can boost our local tourism and boost our local economy, and we generate what? That's what Kenyans are doing now. That's what Rwandans are doing now. And our president cannot be it's even an embarrassment that our president will release a public statement that is taking a leave.
But that
giving the country.
It also means he's being transparent about his itinerary.
No choice.
Because when he spoke about Japan,
we are going to know he traveled. No, everybody will know. Is that going to fly? Now, is he a spirit?
But
now,
oftentimes we don't know what they do. But in this situation, he has clearly said what he was going to do. The Japan trip, he was also very clear about the need to build bridges with Japan for the nearest future.
See, building bridges is not a big deal. We're just on the wrong road. If you put your infrastructure in place, people will come. No, China is not calling anybody. By the 90s, we were buying in Lagos, in Yaba. They'll tell you, this is Taiwan, or this is China. You can't buy it. Today, everybody's buying China. Nobody's going to call anybody. You are going to come because we are doing well. Nigeria is a market on its own because we have a population that can even produce and consume what we are producing. So we will survive based on that. Until people see the worth of what we are doing, they will come to us. As we're speaking, there's no security. Let me tell you, one of the best way to measure a standard of a country is security and health. Today, our life expectancy have dropped, and we have no security. Nobody is going to be listening in America, in Spain, in France, and in Japan, and be listening that 200 people died today. Both caps have 100 people. We're not in a state of war. We're in a state of peace, and yet you look at the record of people who are dying every day because of lack of infrastructure. You look at the level of bandits. You look at the level of kidnapping in Zamfara and other places. And then you tell me the man will carry his investment and come. That's why you see America issue what they call advisory to their citizens. Don't travel here, don't travel here, don't travel here. That affects investment. So what the president is supposed to do is to roll off his sleeves and say, look, this is the responsibility the Constitution are giving to me. And that only one responsibility is that the primary purpose of governance is to protect lives and property, and then create welfare for the people. That's the primary purpose. So if the lives and property are not being protected, if people can't travel on the road, look, I grew up in this country. I travel from here to Lagos with my friends, wearing short knicker in the car, driving to Lagos and to Asaba. Today, nobody can try that. You have to look for police escort. If you don't have money for police escort, as soon as you enter, you start to pray. You pray until you get to your destination. And when you get there, you would have developed BP because you'll be stressed all through the journey. So the president is not focusing on the things that can change this country. No foreign direct investment. We wish that Nigeria grow. In my lifetime, I saw a little bit of Nigeria in my early life. But I'm telling you that the frustration today is that people are poorer. You have record report that 76% of Nigeria living in rural community are living in abject poverty. 45% in urban communities are living in abject. This is an international report from the people who are borrowing money from.
Which many times government often disputes those numbers and say, well, those percentages have been sampled report or sampling done and never really been done in measure of reality that things are bad, but they are never as bad as international organizations.
That's why it paid me that those who get into power who are not widely traveled will not understand. Bola is not. President Tinubu, Bola is not widely traveled. He's not somebody that he's used to Lagos. He's not used to travel on the road. Maybe he should have followed here to Abakaliki from Lokoja to Ogugu and to Igurugu to then come back to Anambra, and then you will see that people are living in poverty, and that this luxurious lifestyle is creating in government is like and asking people to tighten their belt. It's like he wants people to offer themselves as burnt offering for his government before he will know that people are suffering. What we have in this country is hunger problem. There's hunger. People are hungry. Except you don't open your phone, except you don't open your text message, you don't open your WhatsApp. People are hungry. There's no money in circulation. Local contractors are being hold, so the money is not circulating. So it's only people seeing money are those who travel to St. Lucia with him and stay 2 weeks and relax and have vacation and buy Ononuga show through the video of how St. Lucia, a small country, is surviving, and then they can't go to Okosi. There's a waterfall in Ekiti, very beautiful
Okosi waterfall.
Okosi waterfall, and there's another another one in Ogun where the governor just invested money, open for free. The president should be there. That's how you promote local tourism. That's why you ginger your people to participate in local investment. So if you don't trust your place to have vacation, like every other president in foreign land, then why are people going to come here to have vacation?
It's interesting you do talk about vacation, but let's also talk about a friend of yours, a politician, and somebody you've always pushed for.
No, he's my mentor.
Peter Obi is your mentor,
yes,
not your friend.
Yes, no, it's beyond friendship. It's somebody that I've learned some very life touching principles from.
Share one with us.
No, sincerely, you know one of the things people don't understand. I've seen a man who only thing he carries around is his dignity, his integrity. He wears like a toga, like a garment. You know, he thinks he has won everything as long as he has integrity. There's only one thing he does. And you look at him, he's so disciplined to a fault that staying around him has changed a lot of life. You get to learn that life is not just about, trying to this primitive acquisition of wealth, because there's about having money and there's about contentment. The problem Nigerian politicians don't have, they are not contented. As soon as you give them power, maybe they have 2 billion, they are looking at, the man who left, they had 10 billion. That two must have 20 billion. You give another person power, he said the man who left here took 20 billion. So this problem of lack of people not being contented, with what they have God-given opportunities is the reason why we're in this mess of corruption. And a lot of people are not disciplined. They don't have the discipline or thought and mind to be able to respect what is there and what should be. He's somebody that I've seen his style of leadership, and I've seen his discipline towards handling personal and public fund, and that I think I deserve to call him somebody that can mentor anybody, and mentor me too. Nigeria
is complex, dynamic. I mean, you've highlighted some of the problems that we do have. And I can only imagine if he's choosing to run, maybe even the 2031 elections, but some would say, don't say that, say 2027 elections. So I'm thinking to myself, if Peter Obi decides to run for 2027 elections, and he has told himself and told a lot of people that he's interested in just one term, how would he make Nigeria work in one term?
No, it's very easy.
How?
First of all, all the things I've talked about the president is doing, you cut it out. The waste in government, the over-bloated government that we're running. We need to have fiscal responsibility. And I tell you that the cost of running government alone, as soon as you micromanage that process, we're going to cut our expenditure by our waste in government by 50%. It's not something you do by magic. Peter Obi is not going to be traveling and be paying 50,000 for a packed jet. I know this. It's not even subject to dispute. He won't carry me because he knows me how I can pay for him and say all of us were going to St. Lucia. He won't do it. He will tell you that the Nigerian ambassadors there will come with their delegation. He won't waste public money. He will not. These are things we know.
And you think that's enough to run the country in 4 years?
It's a start. It's a start. And then he will bring those economic variables that will help our agricultural sector to stand. Our agricultural sector should be one of the biggest non-export, investment. We have one of the best land for any kind of crop in the world. If you go to Taraba, you come to Jos, you come to Kogi. Kogi alone is about over 29,000 square kilometers of land. Then you have Niger that is over 75,000, about 76,000 square kilometers of land. So you have a challenge that we have this kind of land and this kind of land investment, land banking, that we are not reaping anything from. So we're going to go into that, and then take from very successful program. It's going to take for very successful program all over the world. And Nigeria should be the food basket of the world. And then from that, we will generate more resources. We'll be able to put our people to work because there are no jobs anywhere. The only job you hear is paramilitary, and just civil defense alone, 1.9 people applied. And how many are they looking for? So we are bringing our graduates who can get jobs, and we are talking about revenue that we're not putting them in the right place to reflect on positively on the life of the citizen, and that we're not seeing the investment. I've told you before that Peter Obi will not open up the border like Bola Ahmed Tinubu have done. That they are bringing rice from Thailand, from Indonesia, and every other and India and every other country that is reducing the capacity of farmers to survive. So our farmers can't compete today. Our farmers are in debt. Those who went into beans and other thing. I was with a friend. He's seriously in debt with his bank. So you can't have a government policy that is not focused on local development development, on local content, and that is only focused on trying to have, statistics go chop. But now statistics have become the mainstay of the economy. They are pulling out statistics, they are rejigging it, they are re-editing it, because they know that it is now important to have data that will truly reflect and have a collective change for the life of the people.
Frugal spending is one of the things known with Peter Obi. I mean, he talked about it, people speak about him on that, and you just talked about how you probably will be frugal with governance if he gets to lead the country. But that doesn't exempt being frugal with the citizens and their spending, even though Nigerians will tell you they've sacrificed a lot. Now they're about to step into more sacrifice, because there's no way, I presume, that he will lead the government or the economy if he gets the chance without also asking the same request that the presidents before him, if possible, if presidents like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, president like Muhammadu Buhari, the same request they made about Nigerians will adjust, things will get better, that he will make that request of them.
Peter won't do that.
Why?
Peter Obi will not do that.
He will not make the request of people.
He will be with the people. He won't have time to travel. These are things I know. He won't have time to travel on the problems and solve. He will stand by the people and do by the people. And if the people are suffering, he will share in their pain. Not with when the people are suffering, you are buying Cadillac, you are buying private jets, you are renovating Lagos presidential house, guest house. You are renovating everything that has to do with your own comfort. Peter Obi won't do that. I'm telling you, he can stay in one room of that presidential villa to make sure things works for our people. And I'm very sure you've seen his interest in health. Today, people are struggling. Look at the young girl who was hit by Dangote trailer, and how she couldn't get proper medical care, and they were struggling to fly out. We have healthcare that works with the kind of resources that Nigeria are making. We have healthcare that works. Today we don't even know how much we get from our oil. The crude oil we're talking about, it's been stolen, and it's not like
it just cost the 2 trillion.
No, it's been stolen. I am telling you, because we are the only oil producing, one of the major oil producing country in the world that does not have a meter on his pipeline.
But they do say
metering.
Yeah, metering. Yes, our metering is bad.
We don't have.
Okay,
because of the interest of people in government to continue to manipulate data of how much crude oil we are having.
Well, just to make you aware, they said we have 2 trillion. We've crossed the mark of exporting as much as
Nigeria can do. I'm telling you, those figures are just figures that eventually they bring to the public. But if a man is truly sincere, and that's why you find out everybody who comes wants to be Minister of Petroleum, so that they can look at the money. And I think I'm very also sure that Peter would rather be Minister of Defense, Minister of Agriculture than Minister of Petroleum, because he believes that there's more money in other sector than in oil, that we are just focusing on the wrong place, because and that's why we are not having able to create jobs for our people, and that's why our people are getting poorer by statistics that I've read out here. So his case, Peter Obi case, is different, and apart from being frugal, apart from being prudent, is the man that knows how to do what is right for those he governs. He's not interested in himself. What he wants, I told you, he carry anything he tells you. He would live by it. That's why it's very difficult for you to be with Peter Obi and you ask him something and he say yes, and you come back and say, when did I tell you yes? I can't do it. No, he won't do that. You can never hold him to a corner, for denying anything. And what he wants to do, he will agree with you. And I'm telling you, 100% he will follow it through. He's a committed person. He's a disciplined person. His integrity is number one thing that he can never play with. And he believes that Nigeria has full potentials, that a lot of potentials that have not, come to his fullest, because of lack of leadership. And for him, he wants to create a record. And people talk about 4 years. Let me tell you something about 4 years. Have you seen what Argentina president is doing? Mm-hmm. Have you seen what he's doing? First of all, what he did was, like I told you, is to cut down cost of governance. First of all, wasting government if you block them. You see that Nigeria has so much money, and that the theft of public fund is responsible for the decay we have in our education, is responsible for the decay we have in our health sector, is responsible for the decay we have in our university. You go to Ghana today, you see Nigerian foreign students in Ghana University. You go to Togo, Nigerian foreign student in Togo University. You go to Kenya, you go to Rwanda. Nigerians are everywhere. But I'm telling you, there's nobody around us that comes to school in our country. I like school a lot. So I sit down, one of the calculation I do is to ask people, are we all Nigerians here? They say yes. Nobody's coming. because our education is dead. Before our hospitals were offering medical treatment to the Saudi Arabia royal family. We had people who were teaching. Indians were in this country. Lebanese were everywhere teaching.
70s, 80s.
70s, 80s. We were doing very well. So what happens that we now have an educational system that even those who are responsible who own private university in this country, those who are ministers of education in this country, children don't attend our schools.
Let me push you on one final subject before we round off. States creation. I mean, it continues to be a subject that is being discussed. And I want to really focus on the Southeast because I do know you're from the Southeast.
No, that's the problem. I'm not from the Southeast.
Oh, you're not from the Southeast?
I'm not from the Southeast.
Oh, yes. I didn't know that.
I'm from the North Central.
North Central?
Yes.
But you're Peter Ameh.
Ameh is different from Ume.
Okay, I get it.
Ameh is different from Ameh is related just between the Doma and the Galas.
Fantastic. So I wanted to push you on the Southeast and states creation and population and issues of voters. This is me combining all those subject areas, especially as it relates to the 2027 elections, because people will ask you, where will the votes come from? And people will tell you that fan base is different from real voters, especially as it relates to Peter Obi. Do you think there will be more voters who will be inclined towards Peter Obi, who is a mentor now, as we get in 2027 elections?
Of course, why the APC talks about Peter Obi often, why those in government talk about Peter Obi often, because they know he's the only person who is going to be able to unseat them from government, because they were votes suppressed in the last election, which we look, based on our investigations, about 4 million votes. These are hidden votes that APC is going to confront aside the 6.1 million they declared for him. I'm not saying this my own. They are reports. They are verifiable reports.
Premium Times and BBC for Rivers State.
These are wonderful reports. You can go. They are still there. You can't even take the result away from the portal. It's still on INEC portal. But in Nigeria, if you are cheated and they tell you to go to court, court will tell you that the portal was not there when the election was conducted. Court will give a reason. We know what happened in Taraba, what happened in Kogi, we know what happened in Benue. But I don't want to go there. It is not just Premium Times. It was the same election that a Shehu, the agent for collation officer for the PDP, brought from C8A, from EC8A, from Lagos, and said based on their collation in Lagos State, it's not say Atiku had more votes. He said based on their collation that Peter Obi got over 980,000 votes. Sometimes tears grow my eye. How you could just, people sit down or create a theft of a mandate that was freely given by the people. But you do not blame Peter Obi for that mandate. He has learned his mistakes. He trusted people to be able to put agents in place, to be able to put some structures. And he has learned his lessons. And I'm telling you this.
What lesson did he learn?
Nobody's going to take our vote.
How?
Nobody. Don't worry. That is left for us. We'll let you know. Nobody will steal our vote. Again, nobody will not allow it. And so anything they are going to do.
So this is me presuming that in the last election, you were not watchful enough for the Labour Party.
He was watchful enough, but there are people, just like Goodluck Jonathan said yesterday, he said the betrayal is very massive in Nigerian politics. And that, how they call it, betrayal is a fact in Nigerian politics that you can't take away. But when you now try to put trusted people in proper position, it was a rush. So don't blame him for those who do not have conscience or those who do not have integrity. Those who would think that mandate theft is what can bring them to government. But we must clear that the only way we can have true leadership is when Nigerians determine those who govern them. If people get into power by themselves, they will tell you, don't you put us here. We're going to put ourselves there again. Whether it's your brother, even if your brother gets to power that way, you might be advising him, say, brother, this is the way you do. Say, do you know how I got to power? He will tell you back, your own blood brother. So, corrupt power embodies some level of arrogance. So that is the issue. But I am telling you that the fact that what I am very conversant with is that there are people who are yearning, who are more determined to see the reality of Peter's presidency than himself. Because why did they want this? They want people to know that Nigeria is not cursed. That Nigeria is not a country that is not workable. That Nigeria is not only just working because we have had bad leaders in place, and that if we have good leaders who do not see ethnicity, who do not see religion, who do not see how they call it, friendship in government, but see, the importance of making sure that government work and government represent our people. you will see that Nigeria will start to work in less than 2 years.
Should Mr. Peter Obi trust some of the members of the coalition of the ADC?
Politics is beyond trust. It's the fact that we need to build a consensus. We need to have a pre-elitist consensus. And those who are in the ADC, Peter Obi is here to join ADC. He will join based on the agreement. He's still a member of Labour Party. But those who are in the ADC knows the public pulse. They know how the public is feeling. They can do their own survey. They can do their own, because I'm a political scientist. I don't want to talk anything without data. They can go out and do a voice properly, and then check if they are the ones who people want. And then by then they take decision. But if they want to do like what happened in Senegal, and they want to really be able to have a government that they don't have to struggle, that they will easily get vote, they must put their support behind Peter Obi.
I see.
Peter Obi today is the most acceptable, is the most accepted, is the most popular political community that Nigerians are yearning and canvassing for freely without mobilizing them with money. But just because they believe in the message, they have aligned themselves with that message that he preaches, that Nigeria can work. And Nigeria has the necessary human and capital resources to be like any developed nation of the world. And these are not just rhetorics, these are facts, and these are things that he's committed to seeing in his lifetime. And that's why he wants people to understand. When somebody was asking me, why do you say 4 years? I said, I've sat with him, and I've seen what that 4 years could do. And you will know that henceforth, most people will not be getting second term if they don't perform. Peter Obi will be that yardstick, that standard bearer that will give potency to what that constitution says in section 185, section 2, that every person shall be elected for a 4-year term and renewable for another term through another election. So 2 term is not actually guaranteed. It can only be revalidated through a process of another election. So it's 1 year that is guaranteed if you win, and the second year you could lose, just like Jonathan. He didn't get second term. So it's clear that people do not just take this and say, because Nigerian politicians don't trust themselves, so they believe everybody is like them, and they think that people should just play to their own interest and pander to just personal interest. Peter Obi is widely traveled across this country. There's no places that he has not touched since he lost election. He's the only presidential candidate that has lost election and never ran away. He's the only presidential candidate that has lost election and is grateful for the participation of Nigerians in that election, and is grateful for the commitment of Nigeria, everlasting commitment that they want Nigeria to work. And we cannot have this government continue in this level of poverty that they have. They have re-engineered poverty into the point that people, the kind of hunger that we see today, I've never seen it. Except maybe people who probably were adult when SAP happened.
Yeah, structural adjustment program, 1989.
That is what happened, because you couldn't have the reform were too many at once. The reform, even if they were meant to do good, reforms that take money out of the pocket, that devalue the cost, the strength of the naira, a reform that took the price of petrol, so high that people couldn't survive. Because there are people like Jonathan, believe in private refinery and started the process today. Maybe some of us would have been running to Ghana and Kenya for refugees, because as we speak today, over 36,000 on record by Chatham House. 36,000 Nigerians are seeking asylum all over the world. 36,000. They are seeking asylum because of the bad level of leadership that we have. And the same Chatham House also released a report that the police and the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the least trusted institution in our country. The presidency. This is Chatham House. They can't discredit Chatham House now, because they were there always preaching. They were always there canvassing. So the statistics are not good.
Well, oftentimes we see these things debated subject by subject. But I have to say a big thank you to you, Chief Peter Ameh, for your time. Yes, Chief Peter Ameh is former IPAC Chairman, that's Inter-Party Advisory Council. He's also the CUPP Secretary at the moment, that's Coalition United Political Parties. And yes, he's a famous politician. And if you follow through with the conversation, you'll be interested in agreeing or disagreeing with him, as the case may be. But we're looking forward to your views on this. So keep your comments coming and your views on. Thank you so much. And that's Volume with FemiDlive. I am FemiD Ameh. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.